Anywho, had a hell of a week.
The whole week, or not just the past 2 days?
Well, it started on Monday.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So yeah, the whole week then?
Yeah, the whole week. The whole week. We'd been like having like our clothes and stuff were getting look like grease spots on them.
Yeah.
And I was trying to figure out what was going on with it. I thought that it was just the detergent that we were using. And then come to find out,
You mean like stains, like on
like
your...
a little stain, like on the shirt here,
Like
or
it was
some
wet,
pants there,
kind of?
yeah.
Yeah.
And I couldn't quite figure out what was going on. And I thought it was the detergent that we were using. So we bought some new detergent, and Monday I went down, and it looked like that kind of color right there, like this, like it looks like this is obviously like a coffee stain or something,
Yeah.
but it was like that color on the floor beneath the washing machine.
Almost like a water stain.
Yeah, like a water stain. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh fuck, it's leaking water. And so I go to pull the washer out from the wall, and there's just fucking oil everywhere.
Is it oil?
Yes. And I was like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
Because at first I thought like maybe there was some lint that got up under there, and this was like, at first I was like, oh fuck, this is like water that's been there a while. Like this is not good. Like,
yeah.
and then like I looked and it was like slick, so it's oil. And I was like, the fuck. And then so immediately I'm starting unplugging everything and getting the water out of it. And it's like fucking 9 o'clock at night, and I'm down here fucking with this washing machine, and I'm on YouTube like trying to figure out what the fuck's going on.
Yeah.
And so, like first of all, it's like the clothes like had not been getting like the spin cycle was not working.
Yeah.
And so like I'm gonna go pull clothes out, and there's like a fuck that much water in the bottom of the fucking,
Like it's not draining.
it's not draining,
yeah.
right? And so I was like, ah, shit. So
Do y'all have a front loader or a top loader?
top load.
Okay.
And so I was like, first of all, I was like, let me see if I can get it to drain, and then we'll worry about this oil here in a second. So I ended up, like, everything got unplugged, and I found there was an issue. I was on YouTube, and I found out how to stick the washing machine into diagnostics mode.
Yeah.
And then essentially cycle through all of them to figure out, like,
Where
I guess
the
it
issue
troubleshoots
lies.
the
Yeah.
board or whatever. And apparently there was an issue with the switch, which kind of made sense because for the last, like, month or so, I've been able to bypass the switch
Yeah.
to open up the lid while it's running to check on it, and then close it back. And so I was like, well, that makes sense. I need to get another switch. So we bought another switch, and it took like 2 days to get there, or it took like a day to get there. It was like $20. I put it in, didn't fix it. I was like, fuck me. All right. I was like, well, now I got to figure out, I think whatever from where this oil is coming from, that's my next spot I need to troubleshoot. So I checked the capacitor in the back of the start run capacitor in the back of the wash machine, and then I tipped it up, and back behind where I took the pump off and everything, checked the pump. Nothing was wrong with the pump. And so I was looking, and from what I had gathered is like I need to replace the transmission.
So yeah, you texted me and said that you were replacing the transmission in your washing machine, and I thought you were like fucking with me, or like making a joke. I had no idea that those things had transmissions.
Yeah.
But I guess it makes sense because they go through different like speeds.
Yeah, they go through different speed cycles and agitation and all that stuff. And so I go to like pull the cover off of where the motor and the pulley and everything's at on the bottom, and there's just fucking oil everywhere.
All over the place.
All over the fucking place. So whatever gasket was in this old transmission
had blown,
burst, and then there's fucking oil everywhere. I was like, well, that makes sense with the fucking grease spots and the fucking clothes then. And so I had to go to like a specialty site, and I ordered this fucking transmission, and it cost me like $130 to get this fucking transmission. And I've already spent $20 to get a fucking switch. And so I'm like, all right, I'll replace this transmission. And it's like, we'll be back up and running. And so I get the agitator out, So this is last night.
Are you having to do all the work like from the inside of the machine?
Well, not necessarily, because you tip it over and then you kind of take everything out.
Yeah.
And so, but to get the initial, like the agitator out, so you can get to the nut that essentially holds the transmission to the tub. Mm-hmm. Like, I got that off of there, and then down at the bottom, it's a 33 millimeter nut.
Chunky.
Yeah, and it's fucking pressed metal.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just whatever powdered metal they had, and they pressed it together.
Yeah.
This piece of shit.
Wait, the nut itself was just like pressed metal? It wasn't
it's
like...
just pressed metal. It's pressed metal nut.
Oh, my God.
And so... And it's like... So the transmission's already sticking up like that far. So you have to get a deep socket, 33 millimeter. I'm like, what the fuck?
Who has that?
Yeah, first of all, I was like, who the fuck has a 33 millimeter socket? I was like, and second of all, I was like, who has a fucking deep well 33 millimeter socket? So Dad went with me last night to Home Depot. Of course, they didn't fucking have it.
Right.
Why
would they have it? Why would you ever need that?
Yeah. And so... We ended up, it was like late. It was like 10 o'clock. I was like, well, fuck. It's like, I'm going to have to pick this up tomorrow. And I was like, I'm going to go to Harbor Freight. Mm-hmm. I was like, maybe they'll have it. They have off kilter shit all the time.
Yeah.
And so we go up there, and they go from like 32 to 36.
Of course.
And so it jumps right over the one that I need. And so, but I'm like, all right, well, I need to pick up a half inch drive impact wrench anyway. And so I spent like another $130 on all these tools that I fucking need. And so we ended up like going, is like me and Autumn. I told Autumn before we got started, I was like, today, this is going to be a long morning.
Yeah.
Just be ready.
Get ready. Prepare yourself for this.
So we left Harbor Freight. They didn't have what I needed. I've got some stuff that I needed there. And we left there, and then we went to AutoZone. And because I had looked online, they said that they had one in stock. When we got there, they didn't have one. So I was like, well, shit. And so then I looked online again, and I saw that Northern Tool and Equipment had a 33 millimeter impact.
Where's the Northern Tool and Equipment at?
Do you know where Academy's at?
In Douglasville?
Yep.
Okay, yeah.
Right there.
Yeah.
It's like just now. It's just now opened up.
Oh, wow.
It was really nice in there. It had a lot of cool stuff.
I bet they did.
If I wasn't in such a bad fucking mood.
You would have enjoyed it a little more. You're just fucking sour.
So we get in there, and they do have a 33, but it's not a deep well. So that doesn't help me. I can't fucking... And so I'm like, I have the replacement nut in here. I'm like trying to fit it into like a fucking standard to try to get it to fit. And I get one that like kind of fits, but there's a lot of play.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah. And so I'm sitting there contemplating it.
If you rounded that motherfucker off, oh man.
And then so I'm like, but it's a 3/4 inch drive, so I'm gonna have to get a fucking adapter to stick it on this socket that I don't think is probably gonna get it up out of there. Because the other one's still attached, so I have the new nut.
Right. Yeah.
Like on me, that's what I'm testing everything with. The other one I can't get it up out of the fucking bottom of this washer.
Yeah.
And so finally, I'm like, all right, well, let's go to AutoZone or to Advanced Auto Parts. Mm-hmm. I was like, I think that it's more of like an automotive. It's
thing,
an automotive thing. It's 33 millimeter. So we go in there, and I'm looking. I can't fucking find it. I'm like, I guess we'll try O'Reilly's. It's across the road. I was like, I've about fucking had it. Mm-hmm. I'm getting ready to get on Amazon and just order one and wait.
Right.
And
or put a new washing machine on a credit card and be done with it.
So we get ready to walk out, and the lady is like, did you find what you need? And I told her, I was like, no, I'm looking for a 33 millimeter half-inch drive deep socket. Deep well socket. And she says, we got one of those. And so she walks in the back, she finds it. And then Autumn goes, does that mean we're done? So we ended up like getting all that shit. I got it back to the house, so I start fucking taking everything apart, and I fucking ripped the shit out of that old, like I gouged the flying fuck out of that old nut.
Really?
Yeah, I got it up out of there. I got it started, it chewed it to fucking pieces.
Yeah.
But I got it out of there.
Yeah. That would have been awful if you just like stuck like one that was like a size too big, and you just like, you're like, well, that's there forever. That's never coming out.
Because the only thing I could think at that point was to go get like a fucking like a grind wheel and just fucking cut it in half and
let's stick an ankle grinder.
I mean, that'd been my only other choice.
Yeah.
So I finally get it off and I turn the fucking thing. I turn it over and take the bottom of the thing off and then.
Now, did you have to buy that socket or did they let you rent it? Because sometimes they'll let you rent stuff.
No,
like
I bought the socket.
In case you ever have to take that off.
Ever have to fucking do it again.
Because that's the only application that it has. Yeah.
And then so I get it up out of there, and then on the back end, there's two pulleys. So for your washing machine, there's a pulley that's attached. There's one that's attached to the motor, and another one is attached to the transmission itself. Mm. And so I get the belt off, and I get one of the pulleys off, but the other one. You have to fucking have a pulley remover. So I'm like, great. And so by this time it's like 11 and Autumn's down there. She's trying to help.
Yeah.
And so I'm like trying to actively not be mad at her.
Yeah.
And she's like taking the nuts and like just walking around like, no, please God. Please don't. Like, I'm never going to get this back together. And so I ended up like calling mom and dad. I was like, can you please watch her? Well, I get this situated, and so we ended up going and getting that shit. And anyway, we got it fixed, and it works fine. However, the day that I put the new switch in, like that, I put the new switch in, and I was like, it doesn't fucking work. So I was in a sour fucking mood.
Oh yeah.
At the beginning of the day.
Yeah.
And then come to find, and the night before, the dogs had been up all fucking night because they had eaten something. And they had the fucking runs.
Oh, God.
And so me and Alice, neither one got as much sleep.
Yeah.
And so this fucking switch don't fucking work. and then I'm sitting there trying to get work done, and I hear this wham, wham, like that. I'm like, what the fuck is that?
What is a new thing?
And so and then finally it's a fucking woodpecker on the side of my fucking house.
Really?
Yeah. So we have a strip of wood. Like these strips of wood that like run up, like where the it's not even like a 2x4.
I thought your house was brick on the outside.
It's like that that composite press material, but there are strips. There's like not a strip, but it's a board that like runs up the side of that chimney. The only fucking wood on the whole fucking house.
And he found it.
And he fucking found it. And I go out there, and I look up, and there's two big ass fucking holes in this. And I fucking lost it. Alice was like, she's like, what's going on? I'm like, it's always fucking something around here. I was like, I'm so fucking tired of this place. I was like, this fucking piece of shit. I was God damn it.
It's funny. It's so funny to me because, like, as a guy, like, being the one who usually has to fix the kind of shit like that when that goes down, like, women do not understand. They could never understand what it's like because they don't understand that, like, you get, like, 2% of the way into like trying to work on something,
right?
And then there's like this moment where it, like the floodgates break,
right?
And you just realize like how much shit you're in,
right?
For whatever it is.
This is going to be multiple trips to the hardware store for shit that I don't have.
Yeah.
For money that I didn't expect to spend.
Yeah, it's about to get real expensive, and it's going to be real fucking hard to do.
And so, like, we called the fucking contractors that replaced our roof. And so we're like, we need you to come out. We got to get an estimate because you're going to replace this fucking wood. Mm-hmm. And so they come out, and the guy's like, he's like, let's not do wood. Let's do a composite material. That way the woodpeckers, something they won't be interested in. I'm like, that's fine. We'll just send somebody out. Let's get an estimate. That's the way we can get this taken care of. Mm-hmm. And so as the guy's fucking driving off, I step in something. And it's not shit. It's not diarrhea from the fucking dogs.
Yeah.
Because, they've been outside sputtering all night long, backfiring like a fucking car. And so I look down, and it's fucking guts. The cat has gutted something and left it in my fucking yard.
Right where you're gonna step.
Yeah, right where I fucking stepped. I was like, so that's what the fucking dogs have been eating. That's why they've been having the fucking runs. I was like, this day could not fucking possibly get any fucking worse. I was like, are you fucking kidding me?
Now you know, like now it's kind of like, okay, now I understand why people snap and like murder their neighbors. It's because of this kind of shit right here. Everybody's one bad day away from being a psychopath.
That's what Alice was sitting there. I was just like, God damn it! I was like, I'm so fucking tired of it.
Oh man, I feel it, man. It's such a real thing for men. It really, really is. I mean, I think like one of the most irritating things I ever had to work on was that
anything to do with the Impala.
Well, the Impala just kind of got to a point where it was like, you know, it just is what it is. Like it just
rest in piss.
Yeah, it broke me, man. That car fucking broke me. But it was the keypad door lock that's on our front door.
Mm-hmm.
You would never think that installing something like that would be so fucking infuriating, and it absolutely was. Like, there's no reason it should have took me 6 hours to put that thing on my door.
No,
but it did.
Yep.
And I just suffered for 6 hours.
Yep. There's no getting around it.
No. And then you're getting all angry at it, and your wife is like, I don't understand why you're acting that way.
It's like, I'm gonna if you don't fucking go away. I swear to God.
You're just boiling. just boiling with anger.
Like, you've never heard, like, if the people who employed me were around me while I'm trying to fix something,
yeah,
that I would get fired in a fucking heartbeat.
Oh, yeah.
Because the vile shit that comes out of my mouth.
Yeah. You can go to a real dark place when you're trying to fix something.
And then, like, after I'm done, it's like that part in the fucking and the Grand Tree is like, oh, almost lost my cool there.
Almost lost my cool there. No, I totally get it. We for the most part, we've been pretty lucky with like the things that we've had to replace here. Like, it's, you know, stuff that could, you know, make sense. Like, we had the blower motor on our AC went out, and we had to have that replaced. And then, like, really the majority of the issues we've had has been with the AC, but nothing like what Mom and Dad have gone through with theirs. Like,
no.
they've been fighting that fucking thing for
years,
ever since we lived there.
Since we moved into the house.
Yeah. But I remember, like, when we first moved in and we were, like, getting all of our, like, stuff moved into this house,
mm-hmm.
One of the first things we got moved in was our washer and dryer. And we were really lucky because we got those from, these two people we know that just didn't want them anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And they work fine. And they're like, we'll give them to you for like $100. Like, fuck yeah.
Yeah, sounds good.
We'll grab those. And we've had them ever since. But Dad went with me to go get them. And the first one that we like loaded up into the back of the truck was the dryer. And it, you know, it's not that heavy. But then we went to get that washing machine. And it's a front load washing machine.
Yeah.
So the cylinder is turned 90 degrees.
Right.
And if I had to guess, that washing machine probably weighs about 450 pounds. Like, me and Dad had to, like, lift it up into the air and get it up on the tail of on the bed of his truck. And me and Dad both are two big guys, and we were like, just like shaking, like convulsing, trying to get that fucking thing loaded up. And it was like this. There was like this dread that set over us when we realized, like, whoa, we had to get it back down and moved into a house when we get back home with it. But we actually dropped it. Yeah. Like, it fell over, just like it fell like sitting, you know, basically sitting up and fell over. And, of course, it fell on the front.
Yeah, of course. Well, why would it fall any other way?
And, like, the little door, whatever, like, it, like, got a big crack in it.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, fuck. Like, I was like, Dad was like, well, what do you want to do with it? I was like, well, let's just take it home. Let's just take it home, put it in the house.
Yeah.
We'll run a cycle, and we'll just see what happens.
Yeah. And
so the only way to get it to complete a full cycle is we have to close the door and duct tape it shut. So there's a roll of duct tape down there for when Mary has to do laundry, where she has to fucking tape the door shut, and it's been that way for 5 years. So we had we did have one problem with it, or the intake valves were jacked up for some reason. And that wasn't hard to replace at all. Like, you literally just take the top cover off, take the old one out, put the new one in.
Right.
But when I took the top cover off and I looked down inside at where the drum is, the thing's encased in concrete. There's a concrete encasement around the outside of that cylinder.
Because why wouldn't
and
there
I was
be?
like, my guess is that it's some kind of counterweight centrifugal thing. But I was like, oh, that's where all that fucking weight is coming from, is this concrete tube that's in here. Like somebody sliced a piece of a culvert off and stuck it in my washing machine because it'd be funny.
And that's essentially the same thing they did with fucking Chernobyl.
Just poured concrete.
Poured concrete in there.
I remember one time, it was shortly after we had moved in, we had gone through a couple of loads of laundry at this point already, but I was outside and I was cutting the grass, and Mary comes outside and she was like, the dryer is smoking. And it's a gas dryer.
Yeah, I feel like, oh, God.
And I was like, well, if anything doesn't need to catch on fire, it's that fucking thing. Directly next to the gas line. I remember hooking that thing up, and, like, just, they make Teflon tape that's specific for gas lines, and, like, this kind of, like, it's kind of like dielectric grease or something. Yeah. And I just smothered that motherfucker. I was like, no gas leak for me. But I went in there, I started taking it apart and looking at it, and the lint trap in front had no lint on it. So I was like, well, it's not this. But then I took the faceplate off of the dryer and looked underneath, and that fucking thing was just completely full of lint. And the top layer of it was singed all across the top. And if you know anything about dryer lint, it's extremely flammable.
Right.
Like, it's like the best kindling. Like, people keep it for that purpose.
Right.
Like, if they go camping, you just throw it on a fire and that thing burns forever.
Right.
So I was like, well, crisis averted. That would have been bad. My wife dies in a gas explosion while I'm out cutting the grass.
like it'd be like that fucking, that part in, was it The Dark Knight where he blows up that fucking hospital? Yeah.
Or Breaking Bad. He sets off that bomb in the nursing home. Yeah, I hate like it's because it's everything. Right. There's never been one thing where I had to replace or fix something and it just went smooth. It went smoothly. It's always a fight.
Right.
Every single thing is a fight.
I remember that I'd only had one instance in my entire time when I worked with, number one, if you're troubleshooting anything with software, you're fucked.
Yeah.
But like with hardware shit, like I'd only ever had like one instance. That was when I was in the military and we were replacing a universal power supply for a high frequency like radio transmitter.
Yeah.
And it went in and we fired it up and it worked. And we said, okay. And we said, we did like this and we just backed away.
Yeah. Because that is not how that usually goes.
Like nothing else was like going on. We're like, all right, well, we're going to act like this is okay. And we're not going to troubleshoot any further. Like we're not going to run any additional tests that we don't have to. So
I had bought a new filter for soup for his tank, because the filter that came with it is like this little like square kind of thing that goes inside the, it goes down inside the tank, and it just has an intake and an outtake. It's just a little bitty thing. Probably fine if all you had in there was fish, but turtles are disgusting creatures, and so you really have to go big or go home when it comes to filtration with those things. And I learned that the hard way. So I bought him this. It's called a canister filter, and the thing's probably like, I don't know, this tall. You saw it out there.
Is it over there on the side?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the way that it works is it's a gravity siphon or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So the intake and the outtake have to be above the actual filter itself for this for the cycle to work. I don't understand like the physics behind it, but that's just how it is.
Yeah.
Well, when I was getting it all set up, the thing comes with one like hose, and you have to cut it to size. And it didn't come with like pre-cut hoses for both the intake and outtake. It's one like loop, and you have to cut it and try and So I was going through several different iterations of length because I was cutting off just little bits at a time.
Right.
I was like, I do not want to cut too much.
Right.
And then have to get another one. Blah blah. I had almost got it set where I wanted, and then decided that I was going to switch the hoses, the lengths that I had cut. I was like, I want to take the hose that I cut for the intake and give it to the outtake and vice versa. And I was like, but I'm going to lay down some towels around down here while I do that in case some of the water comes back out. Well, I had the intake still down inside of the tank in the water, and the outtake I kind of had just hanging off the side of the aquarium.
No.
And I left and there was no water coming out of it.
No.
And I left to go grab some towels from upstairs, and then I came back down, and there's just all this water spilling out into the floor. The siphon all of a sudden decided it wanted to work, and all the intake is just sucking all the water out of the turtle tank and dumping it into my floor. And it's like, and the dogs are laying there, like Lola's laying there just watching the water come towards her. And I was like, get the fuck up! I have to clean fucking turtle water off of you. There was so much fucking water on the floor. Like, at least, I don't know, 5 gallons.
Yeah.
Like, it was a lot. And I threw about every single towel that we had in the house on that water to kind of sop it all up.
You're like, ugh.
But it's like, even just sticking a fucking filter in my turtle's tank, like I had to ruin all the towels in the house in order to accomplish that. It always takes something, like a fucking monkey's paw.
There's always some type of fucking nonsense that goes.
There's always some kind of price to pay.
Yeah, anytime like we get started with like a project, I'm like, oh, I can't. Like, I have to like build up like your
nerves,
the chutzpah, to like be able to go through with this,
because it's going to be awful,
right?
You got to get in the right headspace for it.
Allison's like, oh, it'll be a nice weekend project, and
there's no such fucking thing.
And I'm just like, this piece of shit.
No, it's going to take years off my life. That's what it's going to do. That's why men die before women. It's all these fucking nice weekend projects.
It's like when I did the fucking fire pit out back.
Oh, yeah.
I did it with I did it with a hoe and a rake. I was so mad.
Like a fucking chain gang. Out there busting rocks.
I was out there just cussing.
I was tired, boss.
Allison was like, she's like, are you almost done? I'm like, no, I'm out here like a goddamn pilgrim. I was like, I don't have any fucking power tools.
Like a goddamn pilgrim.
Because it's not like I had to. Because essentially, the reason why we put it right where it was at was because, like, when they built the house, they just dug a hole and threw the shit they didn't want, like, into this fucking hole. Mm-hmm. I was like,
I think that's pretty typical for when they build houses. Like, they have like just like a refuge pit,
like a shithole.
Yeah, it's just a shithole. They throw all the shit in it and they bury it up.
Right. And
like
so it's very
like
obvious because it's a big fucking dead spot in the yard.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, well, that's perfect. That's where we can put the fire pit.
Yeah.
And so, like, I went and got all the shit, and so, like, I got, like, the metal to like make the circle, and I like spray painted and like got the circumference and the diameter.
Yeah.
I was like, well, this would fit inside, so it's like now I have to go from out here, and so I measured everything off and did the math.
Yeah.
And then went and got the fucking the fucking stones to like do the actual fucking pit and everything, and then like went out with the fucking rake and was like getting all the dirt up and all that shit. And then it dawned on me. I was like, fuck. I was like, I have to level this off.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I can't just put the fucking stones down.
No, it's got to be level.
I was like, it has to be level. I was like, well, shit. And so like I'm laying on it, like in the dirt.
You're like trying to eyeball it?
My head's like in the dirt, and I have just a fucking level, on the ground, like trying to make sure that this area that I've because I dug out like an extra, like I dug out the main, like where the pit is,
Yeah,
like where you put the chairs and we put the gravel and everything, and then I dug out the second circle, which is where I was putting the pit, like the actual fire pit itself, and so like. I didn't dig it out very deep, just enough like a divot to make like this is obviously where I'm putting this.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's like I'm like laying. It's like at night. It's like 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
And so I'm like laying there on my fucking side with my head in the dirt. Sure, I look fucking crazy.
like somebody driving by is like, what the fuck?
And so Alice just like, she like comes out, she's like, are you coming to bed? And I like get up and the fucking sweat and dirt all over my fucking face. And I'm like, no, I'm gonna fucking do it right now. And then like the next day, like we put all the like the weed mat down and all that shit, which I ended up ripping all that shit up anyway and then redoing it. So weed mat is fucking useless.
It's bullshit. It's complete bullshit.
Yeah, it's complete bullshit.
Everywhere that I've put weed mat down has not worked.
Yeah, guess what? There's still fucking weeds there.
Yeah, and they just grow right up through that shit. That fucking up there near the mailbox, we used to have like a big banana tree bush that grew right there, along with like some other shrubbery. And I just got so sick of that shit, like growing over the mailbox, and just like my mailbox was like hidden in this gnarly bush, like from like fucking Snow White Wicked Forest bush up there. And I finally just ripped all that shit out of the ground, I dug it all up, and I put down some weed mat, and the weeds grew right back up through it. And then I dug it all up again. And I took 3 cans of salt, and I salted the earth. I just poured salt all over it, and it still grows through that shit. To this day, there's shit growing up there right now. So I don't know what it's going to take. You can't stop nature, I guess.
There's nothing you can do.
You're not going to stop it.
Yep.
It's been here before us, it'll be here after us.
Yeah, now it's like, now I'd like, with the fire pit, like as I'm seeing shit like grow, like I pick it out of there. Like it's like if there's like a little weed here, a weed there, like I go out and I'll just fucking grab it and get it up out of there. And I figured out like why, like it's not necessarily that it's growing up through the weed mat. What it is that whatever, like from where we have like a hill like next to where ours is, and when it rains, it washes all that shit down.
So that dirt settles on top of the weed mat.
That dirt is settling on top of that weed mat, and then that shit's growing up through there.
Right.
It don't take much, I guess. I guess just a little bit of dirt.
Yeah, just like the smallest like speck. It'll grow right through it. It has no issue.
But yeah, like that was a fucking...
God forbid you have something you want to grow.
Right, exactly.
It will never.
Well, it's like fucking last year when I ripped all those fucking bushes up out of the side of the fucking house. I can't. And like, it was like, the bush had like overgrown, so I was like, that I could cut it back, but it's the inside of it's fucking dead. Like, I have to get rid of it. Like, we can't do this anymore.
Right.
And so, as I'm like out there with a fucking sawzall, like sawing like through, like I'm having like constantly like get the loppers out and like lop some off and then take it away, and so like I'm out there with this fucking sawzall, and at first, like I was using Dad's because he had like a big like 18-volt one.
Yeah.
That I was using, and it was fucking running that battery down. I was like, this is fucking pointless. So I went and got a Ryobi from Home Depot, like a plug-in one.
Yeah.
Like that I don't have to worry about this fucking battery. And so, but boy, it chewed through them fucking saws.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Yeah, and you can tell when it's getting ready to chew through that when it's getting dull.
Yeah, because it starts smoking.
Yeah, because it's like this, and you go.
It starts shaking the hell out of you.
Yeah. As soon as I start like feeling it in my shoulders.
Yeah.
It's like
Like
it's time to.
That blade's done. There's nothing that'll dull quicker than a Sawzall blade. Like, have you ever tried to I don't know, take apart like an old deck and you start trying to Sawzall some of that stuff? You can get like 5 or 6 boards and it's time to change that blade out.
Because I remember I was going to take the same Sawzall because I was going to try to prune or trim back like some of our crepe myrtles that we have. Mm-hmm. I got about 3, but I was like, fuck that, I'm not doing this.
Yeah.
I'm not fucking doing it.
Yeah, this probably about a year ago, I took a chainsaw to our crepe myrtles up at the front and I cut them beneath the knuckle on all of them. On all of them. I was like, I'm so sick of this fucking tree. And I was like, I don't have the means to cut it down and get it out of my yard.
Right.
I was like, so it's just going to be crippled.
Fuck you.
Fuck you.
Fuck you, tree. You piece of shit.
It's like, have you ever tried to dig a root ball out of the ground?
Oh, yeah. I did it with that Sawzall.
I mean, of anything. It doesn't matter. I don't, from a fucking pine tree all the way down to an azalea bush. Like, that is a fucking
It's a nightmare.
job.
It's a fucking nightmare.
Unless you have, access to, I don't know, a bobcat and a chain.
Right.
Like, you're just not, if you're going to go out there with, a shovel and a pickaxe and try and get a root ball out of the ground.
Yeah, good luck.
See you next fucking Tuesday.
That's essentially what I did. I had that Sawzall out there, and I was using, a fucking, just a fucking shovel. And I'd sort of dig it up a little bit and try to get to the next root and saw through that fucking root. It took me 3 months to get all them fucking bushes up out of there.
Yeah.
And the shitty part about it is that whatever fucking bush that was growing, bushes that were growing up in there, they had thorns all over them.
Oh, yeah.
So, of course, I've got my hands are all fucking cut up and bleeding. Yeah. And they have puncture wounds everywhere.
You've been lacerated. And the little, the tree line right over here, between my house and the neighbor's house, I would love to get in there and cut down a lot of that undergrowth.
Yeah.
That way it's just the trees and the pine straw.
Yeah.
Because I think that would look so much better than how it looks right now. But everything under there is just thorns.
Yep.
Thorns and those little sticker burr things.
Yep.
So, whenever Lex has his favorite places to poop.
Yeah.
Lex loves to climb up inside of a thorn bush to poop. And I don't know. I don't know why.
He's like nothing really gets the bowels going like some good pain.
Like a good piercing pain. But he'll crawl all up inside those fucking thorn bushes to poop in there. He'll immediately poop. We have this, a yard over here. Lola has this one little corner of the yard she always poops in the exact same spot.
No.
Lex has to, he has to struggle in order to poop. I don't know what the thing is. But if he ever gets over in there, when he comes back out, those sticker burrs are just they're in his chest, in his ears, they're on his fucking feet. And so you got to hold him down and, pick those things out. It's just a fucking nightmare.
Yeah, they're the worst. I remember the worst was, you remember when we were kids and Mom and Dad would take us to the KOA campground down in Panama City.
Yeah.
And they had those sand spurs.
Sand spurs, yeah. Those are bad.
The worst. You'd walk back and you'd walk back from that shitty fucking pool that they had.
Yeah.
And they'd be
a concrete hole in the ground.
It was step, and there'd be a fucking sand spur sticking out of the fucking side of your foot.
Yep. You
remember what I remember most about that pool was there was a grease slick on top of it from all the fucking all the people were wearing that accelerator. They go out there and lather themselves up with that fucking tannin lotion or whatever it is.
Yeah, there was a film on the top. Yeah, like pudding skin.
You'd see somebody jump in and then go bloop like that, and it'd separate, and then it'd come back together.
Yeah. Good old top scum. Oh man, Panama City was so magical when I was a kid. I just remember like the big thing to me was arcades. Like to this day I love arcades. I don't much care for well, I like Galaga and stuff like that, but I like arcade games where you can win something.
Yeah.
Or like my all-time favorite arcade game is the Slam-A-Winner, right?
No.
Where it's got like the little like kind of Lazy Susan thing with the holes all around the side. And you press the button and it drops the ball. Because usually I can time it where I can just hit jackpots over and over. So I love stuff like that. When I was a kid, I was like, man, there's like all these arcades around and there's like bright lights and like it was like my little kid version of Vegas.
Yeah, it's like a little kid casino.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, you had that and then you had like putt-putt.
Oh, yeah.
And then you had the go-karts.
Well, the big thing, too, is like that stuff was not up here where we lived.
Right.
It's all down there. So that's the only time we got to do that stuff was when we were down there.
Right.
And that's what made it so special. And you have, Miracle Strip theme park and then Shipwreck Island, the water park. So we're down there for like a week or however long we're down there. And we're like, oh, man, what are we going to do today? Hey, Mom, what are we doing today? We're going to the beach. God damn it! Sit on the hot fucking beach for 12 fucking hours.
The thing I remember most about that was that we would bring so much shit to the beach.
Like a whole living room.
And I remember we had these, this is back in the day, there was those shitty fucking, beach chairs that had, the fucking, rubber
straps.
The rubber straps,
Yeah.
and then they'd click.
Yeah.
When you bring them out, and you'd be carrying them, and they'd, slam into the back of your fucking heel as you'd be fucking cut up and bleeding and everything else.
Yeah.
By the time you'd, dripping blood going to the fucking beach. And, you'd finally get out there.
Just hefting that shit down the beach. Bom, 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 bom. Bom, 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 bom. That's why I felt like a fucking death march.
Yeah. And, the funny thing about
Trail
it
of Tears.
The funny thing about it is... Trail of Tears.
From the van down to the fucking beach.
Oh. And, you'd get down there, and it'd be fucking seaweed everywhere.
Yeah, brown Panama City water. Don't you want to get in? No.
No,
I don't want to go swim in the sewer. No thanks. Pass.
Oh, God. Yeah, the funny thing is when me and Alice lived in Jacksonville, it's like, hey, do you want to go to the beach? It's like, yeah, for an hour, and I want to go home.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, then, it was we're not there, the whole fucking day.
Yeah.
Like most of the time, too, it's it's also, October, so it's not that hot.
Yeah.
So, and
then
we'd
be down there in, August.
The middle of July.
Sitting there just fucking...
Sitting in this fucking frying pan.
Sizzling.
At least...
Mom, I'm hungry. Here's a ham sandwich with a bunch of sand in it. It's your crunchy sandwich.
It's been sitting in this fucking cooler. It's got water all in it.
It's a wet, crunchy sandwich. Sit over there in the hot sun and eat it, and shut up. And then they have the gall to question me why I hate the beach.
Oh, good. I remember the worst part about it is that, we would get ready to go. Mom would slather that fucking sunscreen on you, that SPF 100.
Oh, yeah.
And then it'd be all sticky.
Yeah.
And then they'd put your T-shirt on you.
On top of it.
On top of you. You're like,
it feels wrong.
and then by the time you got the beaches...
Somebody put a shirt on a slug.
Oh, God. So then, you would get down there, after you're, sitting there in the car, and, it's still hot outside, And so like the shirt's like sticking to like you because it's like you've got this SPF 100 and you're like sweating everywhere.
Yeah.
And then you get down to the beach, and then it's time for fucking round 2.
Yep.
And then you get more fucking sunscreen slapped on you. And then of course, like the sand, like this, it's like it's blowing sand onto you,
so
like
sand is sticking
actively.
to you. You're so like one of those donuts from a Chinese restaurant.
So you're like 50 grit.
50 grit. Like if you bumped into somebody, you'd take the top layer of skin off them all.
Oh God.
I hated the whole thing from front to back was just a miserable experience. And then like, you know, you got to pack all that shit up and heft it back up the beach, and then you get to that sand that's all loose, and it's fucking hot, and you can't walk in it. It gets all stuck in your fucking flip-flops, and you're kicking it up the back of your fucking bathing suit. And you got to go sit in the fucking car.
Oh, no. Before that, you got to get to the fucking showers that essentially just spray more fucking sand on you.
Yeah. It's like... And you go sit in the car. The car's 185 fucking degrees. And of course, there was 5 of us, so whoever was sitting in the back, you weren't getting any fucking air until we got back to the fucking camper.
It's like that fucking episode of SpongeBob where he goes into fucking the squirrels.
He goes into Sandy's house. It just dries up. Very rarely, I mean, I could probably count on one hand the amount of times like Mary and I have been to Panama City together.
No.
And while we're there, like Mary loves the beach. Like she'll go and stay on the beach literally all day long. And I just don't understand it. I just don't get it. But I'll indulge her.
Right.
And I was like, I'll go to the beach with you for like an hour. And I was like, that's the best I can do because anything past that, and I'm going to freak out.
Yeah.
And we're going to have a situation. It's going to become an issue.
I think it wouldn't be so bad like if you were staying like at a small condo and like you could just walk down to the beach. And then you could come back like
leave you don't have to go get in a hot fucking car.
Right.
You don't have to lug all that shit up and down the fucking beach. It's like on my bachelor party, we went to Panama City. And we stayed at a condo that was right on the beach.
No.
But it was my bachelor party, so we did the shit I wanted to do, and that didn't include going to the fucking beach.
Yeah. You know, one of the things I remember the most about when we would go down there is that how, like, the KOA campground was, like, right across from Club La Vila.
Yep.
And for those of you that are maybe too young to remember what Club La Vila was.
Yeah. Is it not there anymore?
Well, it's still there, but it's not
what it was.
It's not like it was in its heyday.
Yeah.
Like in its heyday, there was these 2 massive clubs in Panama City.
Yeah, massive.
Massive. And so you had Club La Vila, which was the one that like they did like the MTV Spring Break.
Yeah.
Like that's where they filmed it.
Yeah.
Like they had that there. Like WCW like did their summer brats or summer bash was there.
Yeah.
They'd like set a ring up next to the pool. Like this club was a big deal.
Yeah.
Like it used to be. I think it's just a piece of shit now.
Yeah.
But and then next it was Spinnakers. Which is like
Spinnakers, that's right, yeah.
And like their thing was like they had like better food or something. I don't remember.
I never went into either.
Yeah, I never went into either one of them. So I remember like a couple times we went to the beach across like down from where Club La Vila was, right? And so like you have to like walk through like the little alleyway to like get down to the beach.
Mm-hmm.
Because my thought process was, like if we go over there, like if I get tired of this shit, I just fucking go back to the camper.
You just walk back to the camper.
I just walk back to the camper. Like I have an out here.
Yeah.
And so I remember like walking down through there. There's fucking broken glass everywhere.
Used condoms.
Yeah, used condoms. Like somebody's still using a condom. And some dude jerking off.
Glass in a condom.
You name
it's
it.
the only way I can feel anything.
Yeah, you name it, they got it. But And so you go down there, and there's some real whores down there on the beach. You know, they're walking
beach
around,
whores, yep.
walking around with their thong bikinis on. But you know, I'm 13, so I'm like, hey,
yeah, love to see it. Wouldn't know what to do if it came down to it, but I know that I like whatever you got there, ma'am.
But yeah, I do remember that. I remember like just all this fucking broken glass.
Yeah,
like
cigarette butts. Yeah,
I was like, ugh,
like walking through a dumpster. That's kind of what that whole area was. One big dumpster.
It's always been a piece of shit. I think the 90s, like everything was just a piece of shit in the 90s,
everything
but nobody
dirty
had quite
and gritty.
Nobody had quite figured it out yet.
Yeah. Oh man.
The 90s, like now looking back at it, like it was just so fucking sleazy.
Yeah.
Like,
oh yeah, super sleazy.
yeah, like
I mean the sleaze things are still sleazy now. Maybe more so, but it was a different kind of sleazy in the 90s.
yeah. Like I feel like today's sleaziness is a bit more nefarious than like the 90s sleazy. Because the 90s sleazy, like you knew what was going on.
Yeah.
Like everybody was on the up and up, like with what was going on here. Like it's pretty obvious that there's dudes doing rails of coke in the back.
Oh yeah.
Like the dude like doing the MTV like spring break has like spiky like blonde frosted tip hair.
Yeah, the puka shell necklace.
Yeah, puka shell necklace. It's like I'm under no illusions that he's not a piece of shit.
He didn't powder his nose right before they rolled the tape.
You don't think that he's back there slapping asses?
Slapping asses.
Like pinching asses back there? Like that wouldn't fly today. So, you know, and it's like I'm under no illusions that there aren't the same amount of like fucking sleaze bags walking around, but they're much more nefarious about it now because they got to keep it under wraps.
Yeah, because they'll get canceled.
Yeah.
Well, let's bring in the podcast right quick. We got a couple of things we need to touch on.
Oh, yeah.
Namely our Super Cringe Thursday post, so we'll jump onto that. But, so... Hello and welcome to episode 69. 69.
Hey, very nice.
To piggyback off of our sleaziness conversation, I did want to say right quick, our download numbers for last week
shot
way
doubled
up,
almost.
Doubled, if not more, than the numbers that we're typically used to seeing. So clearly there's a lot more new listeners. Or either everybody listened to the episode twice. I don't know. I don't
if you
know
are a new listener, hello.
Yeah, hello and welcome. Make sure you follow us on our Facebook page. You can find the link to that and pretty much in the show notes wherever you happen to be listening. Additionally, I am currently in the process of uploading all of our episodes to YouTube. So I've got our YouTube channel. It's made. It's all set up. I've got 12 episodes uploaded already. You won't be able to see them. They're privated right now. So my plan is to get all of the episodes so far uploaded to YouTube, and then all at once make them public. That way they're all there, and they're not just kind of slowly trickling through, because it is a process to get one done. Let me walk you through the process of what I have to do. So these first couple of episodes, they're all on the external drive. They're not on my hard drive. So I have to copy them over from the external hard drive to my computer. And then once that's done, I have to load them up into the video editing software. And then I have to add like our title card or whatever for the whole thing. And then I have to render it. And the rendering takes about an hour. And then I have to upload it to YouTube, and YouTube has to upload it, which takes about 45 minutes. And then it has to process the video, which takes about 2 hours.
Yeah.
So it's close to 5 hours per episode.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a little while before all of those are readily available. But it's finally in the works. The YouTube channel is finally coming along. So I think what the idea will be, once it's up and running and everything, is when we have our probably what I'll do is we have our Tuesday release on the podcast platforms, and then I'll set the YouTube version to go public maybe the day after or something. Because I know a lot of people listen to podcasts on YouTube.
I do.
And a lot of people listen to like long form videos on YouTube anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So that way we can, if you want to hear it earlier, then it releases on YouTube. The podcast is an option.
Right.
Or if you want to listen to it on YouTube, it'll be there the day after. So maybe that's the route we'll go with that. But yeah, there it is. We were doing one of the things that we said we would do.
A year later.
A year later. Yeah, almost 2 years later. But yeah, there it is. So, with all that said, let's jump into our Super Cringe Thursday post.
Yes.
For this week. So this one, there's been a lot of these Super Cringe Thursday posts where the prevailing theme is like, we don't understand why they chose to upload this.
Right.
Like, how was there never a point, like, in, like, the recording and editing and all that and uploading it? Like, now that I know how long it takes to upload videos to YouTube, I'm like, wow, I have a lot of time to think about whether or not I want everyone in the whole world to see this. And this video definitely falls under that category. So for those of you who didn't see it, it's a young man in his bedroom, and he's singing an a cappella version of One Winged Angel from Final Fantasy VII. The thing is, that particular song by itself is actually a really cool, really good song. It's very high energy, very, it's kind of got like a march kind of a rhythm at the beginning. And it just goes to a lot of different places. So if you listen to the actual song by itself, you're like, this is a cool song. It's very orchestral, very cool. It would be a difficult song to sing a cappella if you could sing if
you had the talent to do so.
But God bless this man who does not have the talent to do so.
That dude can't carry a tune in a bucket.
He took a crack at it anyway. I'll play a short little audio clip for you right here. And there you go. So you can kind of see why we cringed at this one.
I guess, like, I don't really know a whole lot about, like, Final Fantasy.
I kind of missed that boat too.
Yeah. That wasn't really necessarily something that I ever played. So I don't know enough about maybe the music or whatever. I know that that's not how it sounds.
What if it was? What if one day you're like, I want to play Final Fantasy VII, and that part comes along and it's just
you're like, holy shit, he nailed it.
He nailed it. It's 100% accurate.
But like, just listening to it, I was like, regardless of whatever the sound of that song is, this is not what that is.
It'd be funny if somebody who had never heard the song, like, listen to that, and then you like try to get them to guess, like, okay, now that you've heard that, think in your head, what is it supposed to sound like? Like, what can you guess?
Yeah.
Did it give you any kind of direction?
Like, no.
Like, no. He just caterwauled into his camera for a while.
He just yowled into the camera.
He yowled like an alley cat. But yeah, so that guy, his name on YouTube is Sega Camp. He's got several videos. Not necessarily of him singing a cappella versions of things, but usually him responding to the response of that video.
Oh.
Yeah, so it was not well received. It had a lot of traction, but maybe not for the reason that he would have liked.
So he had over 1 million views on that video.
Yeah. There's a lot of videos of him screaming like, I'm not gay!
It's like, don't feed the trolls.
Man, that doesn't help. It doesn't help. That's not going to help you. The best thing you can do is just turn off comments on that video, and then don't ever upload anything ever again. Yeah. That's really your only course of action at this point. Yeah, that one is rough. There's a
yeah, there's just something about music ones. I don't know what it is.
Well, Now, I don't know if you felt this way when you were a kid, but I definitely had like an aversion to music as a kid, like songs. Like, like not all of them, not all together, but like, okay, specifically like in a movie.
Mm-hmm.
Because like all the movies I was watching as a kid were, of course, kids' movies.
Right.
And every kids' movie has to have a musical number.
Right.
Or several. Like, think of Lion King.
Right.
Like, 80% of that fucking movie is...
Right.
is
yeah, Disney movies are...
Yeah, Disney movies in particular, right? Little Mermaid, same thing. Yep. Even Goofy movie to some degree.
The first one, definitely.
Yeah. So, like... Every time, like, one of those, like, scenes, I'd be, like, watching a movie, having a good time watching a movie, and then they would start having, like, a little musical number, and I would just, like, oh.
No.
Like, as a kid, I was cringing at it.
No.
Like, when I was a little kid, one of my favorite movies was Tarzan.
No.
And how many musical numbers are in there? Now, granted, it is Phil Collins.
Right. Well, I mean, that's very much different.
Yeah. You know, I kind of have a little bit more respect for it, but...
Well, it's sort of like, well, I was saying, like, with Oliver and Company.
Yeah.
Like, that's Billy Joel is the one that, like, did the music for that one, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, like, you have, like, Phil Collins and Billy Joel, like, doing the musical numbers for you. Like, you're more...
It's a bit more palatable,
yeah. So it's a little bit better.
Yeah. They, it kind of reminded me. So, you know, in Aladdin, it's two different guys voicing.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So Donny Osmond does the singing.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, Donny Osmond does the singing, and the rest of the lines are just like a different voice actor.
No.
And when they casted him, they asked him, they were like, "Can you sing?" He's like, "Yeah, I can totally sing." And then they like go to record one of the songs. He's like, I really don't know how to sing, you guys. But they had already recorded like all this fucking dialogue. They're like, well, what do we do? You fucking baited us, man. So they had to get like a voice sound like it. Donny Osmond, I mean, you know, from what I remember, I mean, it's been a long time since I've seen Aladdin, but from what I remember, like, there's not a whole lot, you know, of difference between that guy's speaking voice and then Donny Osmond's singing voice.
Pretty close.
You never really would know. I wouldn't think.
What's like if you think about like some of the Disney movies and everything, like they've got some of them. They've got some fairly well-known actors. Like you look at like Pixar, like you had Tim Allen and Tom Hanks.
Yeah,
were two of the ones there that did that.
I mean, hell, Aladdin had Robin Williams.
Yeah, Aladdin had Robin Williams.
Yeah.
Lion King had who is the guy from not Weekend at Bernie's?
I think Matthew Broderick.
Matthew Broderick. Yeah,
he voiced
Simba.
Older Simba. Yeah. Fucking James Earl Jones was
Mufasa.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Scar was it Tim Curry?
What was it? Tim Curry?
Jeremy Irons. It was Jeremy Irons. Yeah, that's who it was. Yeah. I don't want to think it was Tim Curry out of that. It's totally wrong.
That's an odd choice.
This guy who played Pennywise, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely not him. It's not Tim Curry.
Yeah. Every time I think of Tim Curry, I always think of what's that movie? Oh shit, where he plays the transvestite in that movie.
Rocky Horror Picture Show. Yeah.
That's like a cult classic, though, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Like people dress up and go watch it.
Yeah, it's huge. Like anytime that comes to like town, or like to any like performing arts theater or whatever, like the whole town will turn out for that.
Who was the director for that movie?
I have no idea. Was it Tim? It wasn't Tim Burton, was it?
It might have been Tim Burton.
It may have been Tim Burton.
Yeah. I've actually never seen that movie.
I've seen like the first like half of it because it was one of the movies that they put on for us, and like we had a substitute teacher in band class one day.
He chose that one?
He put it in and then went in the office. Just like,
I'm pretty sure that they didn't have that down at the AV club.
Yeah.
I think that might have been home brought.
I think so. I think he just snatched a movie and then like just stuck it in the fucking VCR and then went and took a nap in the office.
Everybody's like,
like, what are we watching? We watched another movie. It was Coneheads. We watched Coneheads.
I love Coneheads.
I really love Coneheads. I love Dan Aykroyd. Before he like went off the deep end and like the conspiracy theory, like the Crystal Skull aliens and all that. You know, he has his own vodka brand, right? Called Crystal Skull Vodka. Yeah, it's all about. It's got something to do with the crystal skulls and the aliens and all that. Oh yeah, he's a huge like conspiracy guy. Yeah,
I know that. One of my most favorite parts in that movie is where he gets ready to like call to call back or whatever.
Yeah,
like he finally gets all his shit together. And he goes to he's nervous, so he gets that whole pack of Marlboro Reds and he's smoking the whole
I love that movie. I love Chris Farley in that movie.
There was a lot of big name actors in that movie.
David Spade, yeah.
David Spade was in that movie. Adam Sandler had a cameo in that movie.
Did he?
Yeah, he was the guy that gave him the alias.
Really?
Yeah, Sinbad was in that movie.
That's right. Sinbad was in that movie.
Sinbad was in that movie. George Costanza.
Yep.
Was the neighbor.
Was his neighbor. Yep. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, there's a lot of those movies that were like adaptations of like SNL bits are really good. Like Blues Brothers.
Yeah, that's a good one.
In SNL, I feel like back in the day was really something.
Oh yeah.
Like when you had like that particular group of folks, like Chris Farley, David Spade, Adam Sandler, like that was their golden age. Their A team.
Yeah.
And it's just I don't feel like it's ever come close to that ever again.
It's not. Which is really a shame because I mean they do have some good. They've had some good bits. Like I like most of the ones that I think that Keenan does, or not Keenan, but I think is it Keenan?
Kenan Thompson.
Yeah, Keenan.
Yeah.
Most of the ones that Keenan does, it's pretty good.
Yeah, I like Kenan Thompson.
Yeah, like I like the one where he does the Black Jeopardy.
Yeah, yeah. I know they had Tom Hanks on there. One of the categories was lives that matter.
Yeah. He just looks at him.
He's like, I actually have a lot to say about this one. He's like, I'm sure you do. One of my favorite parts in that bit is when they were talking about Medea and Tom Hanks' character is like this redneck. Yeah. And he was like, if a movie can make me cry and pray in an hour and a half, well, that's money well spent. Yeah. And like Kenan Thompson character comes walking over to him, he's like, man, I want to shake your hand or whatever. He reaches out to him, and Tom Hanks just like he like throws his hands up. Oh man.
Oh god.
I think Andy Samberg and Bill Hader, I think as far as like the new group, those two guys are really good. Bill Hader's really fucking funny. Yeah. Like I don't feel like there's a ton of things where he really gets to did you really see him in that he kind of shows his comedy chops, but if you ever like see interviews with him or like just little bits that he does, he's really fucking funny.
Well, I remember he was really funny in just a little piece that they gave him in Pineapple Express, where he's like the private that's like smoking
at
the weed.
Beginning, yeah, smoking
the weed. He's like, I feel like he's like, I feel like some butter melting on a stack of flapjacks.
I loved his character in Hot Rod.
I'd forgotten about that movie.
I love when he's talking about like how he did LSD. And he was like, yeah, guy at work was like, I've got this acid, but I can't do it. And then Bill Hader's like, well, I'll do it. Chris had told me, he was like, man, he's like, I know you really like Hot Rod, but he's like, it does not hold up. And I was like, oh, it's like, man, don't tell me that.
Yeah.
Like, that's really sad. And I watched it recently, and it does not hold up.
Really?
There's like,
that's so sad when it doesn't.
There's like 3 or 4 parts that still make me laugh, but on the whole, that movie's like, it's kind of a slog to sit through.
No.
One of my favorite parts, or like one of my favorite like bits in that movie, like, or jokes, whatever you want to call it, is when his stepdad like has a heart attack, and like he comes home and the EMTs are leaving the house, and one of the EMT goes, I give the guy a week, like that, and the other EMT goes, that's really heartless, man. Like, because he said it within earshot of the main character, which is funny because you see that trope in movies a lot. You know what I mean? I thought that was really funny. And then I like the part where Will Arnett's character is he's just going, babe, wait, babe, no, babe. They just like let the camera roll on him for like 40 seconds. It's just him screaming.
I remember one movie that a lot of people liked when it came out, and I didn't really ever get it. Like, it took me like a third or fourth time kind of watching it to be like, oh, I kind of get the humor in it now, was Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah, Napoleon Dynamite's extremely dry.
Right.
Very, very dry.
Like, the only part in that movie that I saw that I burst out laughing when I saw it was when he takes that fucking steak and he's like I could throw a football over them mountains.
Yeah.
he grabs that steak off his plate as they're riding by that bicycle. He like throws it. He like smacks him in the head.
I love at the big sort of the beginning of the movie when he's wearing those like cargo pants, and he's got all those tater tots in that one pocket, and he's like pulling them out and eating them. And the guy's like, "Hey, Napoleon, give me some of your tots." He's like, "No way, man, they're my tots." And the dude just like kicks the pocket and smushes them all. He's like, "Oh."
Oh God, that one. I remember another one that, like, the first time I watched it, I didn't get it. Like, it took me the second time I watched it, like, I got the humor in it.
Yeah.
Was Anchorman. Like, the first time I watched Anchorman, it's like, I don't get it. I don't understand. Everybody's like, you have to watch it a second time. They're like,
which is a crazy requirement to enjoy a movie.
They're just like, just trust me, just watch it the second time. And then the second time I watched it, like, it was fucking hilarious.
Yeah, I actually love Anchorman. The second movie isn't really all that good, I don't think. Like, they redo like the park fight thing between all the different like news groups or whatever, and it was really just like, how many cameos can we fit on screen at one time? It was a ton of them. But yeah, I really did. I did like Anchorman. I feel like Will Ferrell stuff is really hit or miss for me.
Right. Yeah.
Like, a little bit of Will Ferrell goes a long way.
Right.
Like, because everything he's in, it's the same. It's just him screaming. Or him acting like he's being serious when he's not. You know what I mean?
One of his, like, people don't like it, but I think it's fucking hilarious. I think it's a hidden gem, is Tropic Thunder. I don't like.
Was Will Ferrell in Tropic Thunder?
Not Tropic Thunder. I'm sorry. Semi-Pro.
Why did you say Tropic Thunder?
I don't know why I said it. Because the name of the basketball team is the Tropics.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's what it is, yeah.
Yeah. That movie is so fucking funny. Yeah. The part where he's like, he's wrestling that bear. Yeah. And then the bear gets out. And he's like, everybody be real still.
Yeah. Like in the fucking arena or whatever.
Because just the fucking thought of like him playing on the team, they're coming out and doing the halftime show.
Yeah. He, you know, him and John C. Reilly, really captured lightning in a bottle with Step Brothers.
That one,
and
yeah, with that movie too, like that movie is so like,
it's just
like the jokes, like it's constant,
one after another, and it's a lot of different types of jokes too. Like there's written jokes, there's like jokes that are just funny because of delivery. There's all like visual gags,
right?
But yeah, it's back to back. That movie is constantly just punching you in the face over and over with jokes. And I can see where a lot of people could get really, exhausted by that movie.
Right.
But it still makes me laugh to this day. Like I can still watch it and laugh about it. But it's really kind of one of those movies like where if you took like a young person now and had them watch it, I don't think they would get the same enjoyment out of it. It was really a movie that was kind of that era.
Right.
And then I think the next, like, you know, him and John C. Reilly did a lot of stuff together. They did Talladega Nights, The Ballad of Ricky Bobby.
For some reason, that movie still holds up, and I don't know what it is about that particular movie. But so, like, for me, I still get the humor, and it's still, every time I watch it, it makes me laugh.
I love when they go to visit him in the hospital. Or in that, like, recovery hospital, whatever it is. They're like, he thinks he's paralyzed, but he's not, or whatever. And he stabs that steak knife into his leg. And him and John C. Reilly and Michael Clark Duncan, who's the other guy. They're like trying to get the steak knife out. They're like, what if we pry it out with another steak knife, and they stick another steak knife in his leg to try and like wiggle the other one out. It reminds me of have you ever seen Game Night?
Yes. Yeah, it's been a long time though since I've seen that.
I can't remember what the guy's name is. Oh man, what is that dude's name? Was he in The Hangover? You had Bradley Cooper, Ed Helms, Zach Galifianakis. I'm trying to remember if that guy was if he was in.
Are you thinking of the same guy that's in Ozarks?
Yeah. What is his name?
No, the movie that you're thinking of that he was in is Horrible Bosses.
Horrible Bosses. Yeah, that's kind of like a comedy of errors. Yeah.
The second one's really funny too.
Yeah. Which, I mean, that's kind of what Game Night is. But it's like they go over to like this house party and they're like playing a game. They're going to do a murder mystery thing. But like they actually like, there's like people that break into the house like for real and like kidnap a guy and shoot someone. Yeah. And they, like him and like his wife, who is like Rachel McAdams, I think it is. They're like, they think it's a whole big game or whatever. Yeah. And then like, you know, there's one thing leads to another. But at some point in the movie, he gets shot in the arm, like in his forearm or whatever. And like him and Rachel McAdams, they go to like a CVS and they get all this stuff to try and like take the bullet out of his arm. And so she's like looking on like this website on like how to do it. Yeah. And she gave him a squeaky toy to bite down on. She was like, okay, first step is make a small incision. And like the bullet hole's like right here. And she takes his pocket knife and cuts him from there to like right there. It's just this fucking long cut. He's like, oh my God. He's like, baby, that's way too big. And that scene is so fucking funny to me because they're just acting off of each other. I remember I was on a plane when I saw it. I could not stop fucking laughing when she cut his arm with that knife. So fucking funny.
I remember one of the funnier movies that I saw that I didn't really like go into with with very high end like aspirations of this actually being a funny movie. Yeah, is Cock Blockers. With it's got John Cena.
Yeah, with John Cena.
Yeah, it was actually really fucking funny.
That was really fucking funny. Like that movie, it was one of the first movies I'd seen in a long time that just had me like belly laughing. Right. Like the part where he's fucking boofing that alcohol.
He's butt chugging that.
Butt chugging. And he like something happens and he blows it back. He blows it back out all over that guy.
Oh God. Yeah, like with that movie had a bunch of really funny parts in it.
Yeah, it did.
I was pleasantly surprised with that movie.
Yeah.
Because I didn't think it was going to be very funny at all.
Like where they're trying to sneak in the principal's house and him and his wife are doing that like weird sex game thing. Well, before we run out of too much time, we have another advice. What do we want to call this bit? Just the advice corner with the Thicc Bois, or whatever. So our pick for this week, I'll go ahead and read it, is as follows. A guy slapped my butt. I told him he's lucky I don't hit him in the jaw, and I went and reported it. I'm fired for threatening him. What should I do? So that, I feel like, in most cases, that would count as wrongful termination. Yes. Would it?
I would assume so.
Because, yes, technically she did threaten violence against the guy. Maybe they can't prove that he slapped her on the butt.
No.
It could be, depending on what the actual, the work environment's like. Like, if you said, like, a restaurant, if you work in a restaurant, there's cameras everywhere.
Right.
It's probably caught that on camera.
Right.
But if you're, like, in an office, there's probably not cameras anywhere. So, for this particular instance, it's hard to say because I'm not a guy. Or I am a guy. Let me clear that up. I'm not a girl. So, if it would be a very different thing, like if a girl slapped me on the butt at work, and I was like, I'm going to fucking knock you out.
You stupid bitch.
Stupid bitch. That's a whole different situation. I mean, yes, there's double standards. It's just how it is. But if it were me, honestly, I would look into legal action.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, you can't.
I would consider that wrongful termination.
I would too. I would absolutely seek legal advice on that. Especially too, like if you're not in a state that is a right to work state, which means that they have to give you a specific reason as to why they would fire you.
Yeah.
Like Georgia is a right to work state, which means that they can fire you for any fucking reason.
Yeah, they have to have a reason. As long as they have a reason.
Right. As long as they could be like, you were late once 3 years ago. And like it cost the company money, so we're gonna fucking fire you. I mean, they could really find any fucking reason to fire you. But with something like that, I would see what my legal options are with that, because I mean, if that's true and somebody put their hands on you, especially like your ass, number one, that's sexual assault.
Yeah, first and foremost. Yeah.
First and foremost, that would be classified as sexual assault, which is a big no-no.
Yeah.
For those that don't know.
Yeah, you can't do that.
Yeah, this is in the 90s. So, I mean, absolutely, yeah, I would try to get legal advice from, I guess, Morgan and Morgan. I don't...
Morgan and Morgan. John Foy, the strong arm. I would say that wherever you end up next, if it happens again, skip the threat and go right into the action.
Right.
Like if somebody slaps your butt, just immediately sock them, like punch them right in the throat.
Right.
Because I feel like, if it's an instance where, like if I was a supervisor, as I was, in whatever particular establishment this is, and then I found out that one of my female employees punched one of the male employees, First of all,
like, what did he do?
I would immediately assume that he did something to her.
Right.
And I would look into it. That's how I would go into it, looking at it.
Right.
But if it was like, she said she reported it.
No.
So she reported that he slapped her butt, and then she probably mentioned, like, in the heat of the moment, like, and then I said I'd punch him. No. And they're like, well, you can't say that to somebody.
Right.
We're going to fire you.
Yeah.
You're like, well, now I'm going to punch you.
Yeah, I guess my second piece of advice would be don't make that threat.
Yeah.
And if you do, don't tell your employer that you made that threat.
Yeah, leave that part out. I don't know. There's a lot of, it's you got to prove it though, right? You got to prove that it happened, or I would guess it didn't happen with witnesses around.
Probably not. I mean, I would assume that, especially too, if you're working a job.
Sorry, guys, we're recording at like 11:30 at night. It's midnight. Actually.
Yeah, if you're working a job where I'm wondering where this job is, and most jobs now there's some type of cameras that would catch an interaction like that.
Right. Yeah.
And
there's, I don't want it to sound like I'm about to give a pass to anything, but there's different environments for different jobs. Like, kind of take like the way that like construction workers might act on the job
yeah.
versus like how people might act at like a lawyer's office.
Right.
So usually if there's an establishment where you have men and women working together, it's either like an office establishment or a restaurant.
Right.
And you and I both worked in restaurants.
Right.
And so
some real degenerates.
We know how those people act around one another. And there's a little bit of grab ass that goes on.
Yeah.
I mean, it is.
Yeah.
It simply is. So, I think that...
Like I said, some real fucking degenerate behavior.
Yeah, a whole lot of that. What, going on around your food?
FYI.
FYI. Next time you go to a restaurant. I would say you need to, he's definitely the one at fault.
Right.
But I would say that if you find yourself in an environment like that, if your occupation has you in an environment like that, you need to establish yourself immediately that you aren't going to partake.
Right.
That you are not a part of that. Like there's probably the other girls there are probably like, flirting around and doing that kind of stuff too. But
assuming that's the environment.
Assuming that's what it is, yeah, for sure. But if you find, like I said, if you find yourself in that type of environment, happens to be where you're working, you need to immediately make it clear that you're not going to partake. You don't want to partake in
right. Yeah, well, I mean,
otherwise somebody might just be frisky and take a chance.
Right. Some fucking Caligula shit going on here. Like you want no fucking part of it. Yeah, I mean, especially too, I would assume, well, I mean, when I worked at the restaurant in Atlanta, a lot of it was like college-age kids. Mm-hmm. People that were, 22 to 21, 22, 23, 24, all the way up to maybe 26. I mean, so that's, if you stick enough of those type of people together. Yeah,
you're going to have some instances.
Yeah, you're going to have some issues at some point. You know what I mean?
Back there using the old think meat.
Yeah.
Everybody's just a bunch of animals.
Right. Like I said, some real degenerate behavior.
Yeah, just working off of instinct back there. Right. I don't know, man. It's I'm under no illusion that it's that kind of thing isn't something that women have to constantly be on the lookout for.
Right.
Being victimized that way. And then it's probably really frustrating when it happens to you and you stand up for yourself and you get punished for it.
Right.
But I feel like nowadays, especially, people get punished for standing up for themselves more so than anything else.
Well, yeah.
It's almost like you are expected to be a victim.
To take it.
Take it, yeah. It's like there's all these like videos of a smaller person or a female hitting a larger person or a man. And when that person retaliates, the aggressor usually ends up getting hurt. And, we had mentioned before, like, if I personally feel that, if you're a man and you're being physically accosted by a woman, your best course of action is to just leave the situation get away from this, whatever that takes. If it means literally running away, that's probably going to be your best option because you're going to have to deal with the blowback if you do retaliate.
Right.
If it means going and getting in your car and literally driving away from the situation,
right,
do that because it's better than having to deal with the fallout.
Right.
But that said, you are not obligated to suffer physical abuse.
No.
Ever.
No matter what anybody says.
Ever. From no one.
Right.
You are not obligated to be physically assaulted.
No.
So if you're in a situation where that's happening...
Yeah, regardless of whether or not you have a dick or a vagina.
Yeah. And you can't get away. Don't ever,
It is your right.
It is your right to defend yourself.
Right.
Whatever that may mean.
Right.
No one has a right to put their hands on you. No one has a right to sexually assault you. I would go so far as to say that no one has a right to verbally assault you.
Right.
Shout back at them.
Right.
Tell them how you feel. Say really nasty things.
Yeah.
Get real personal.
Yeah, pick out something about their appearance and then, let them know.
Like, really? You going to be talking to me like that with that nose on your face?
Yeah. Sucking up all the air in here?
Even if they don't have, like, a particularly outstanding nose, pick something like that, because then they're going to be self-conscious about it.
Right.
Like, oh, my God, all this time, I've had this crazy nose, and I didn't even notice. But, yeah, like I said, you know, you have an obligation to yourself to protect yourself.
Right. No, absolutely.
At all times.
Yeah, that's what I don't. And it does seem that nowadays people, they don't want you to defend yourself, and I find that fucking insane.
Yeah.
I find that absolutely asinine. Like, with my daughter, you know, the way that we've taught her thus far has been, you know, never put your hands on someone, but it is always okay for you to defend yourself.
Yeah.
At no point is anyone allowed to put their hands on you.
Yeah.
And if they do, you are allowed to hit them back.
Yeah.
I don't care.
As hard as you can.
I don't care what your teachers say. I don't care what your school says.
Yeah.
It's like, I'll deal with that.
Yeah.
But if somebody puts their hands on you, you have every right to defend yourself.
Something I see all the time is, you know, in these instances where the victim fights back, is people saying, well, he should have did this, he should have done that, he should have called for help, or he should have this, that, the other. Nobody ever says anything like, that guy should not have physically assaulted him in the first place.
Right.
That's never said.
Right.
You know, there was that whole big thing a couple of years back where, you know, people were talking about victim blaming, right?
No.
And it was really, you know, more so directed at, you know, women who are accusing men of sexual assault or rape or whatever. But I mean, that's exactly what this is, right? So if somebody's if somebody's being physically assaulted, they're being victimized by someone.
Right.
And when they retaliate, they're not all of a sudden the worst person.
Right.
Like, are you supposed to just lay down and fucking die because you're in the right?
Yeah. No.
No.
It's not going to happen.
Like, so if I ever see a video where somebody gets a little squirrely on someone out of nowhere or whatever, and is like attacking them or following them or whatever, whatever it is they're doing.
Yeah, being a real shithead.
And that person gets anything, punched in the face, shot in the head, ran over by a car. I do not fucking care.
No.
That happened to that person, because they started the situation.
Right.
They were the primary aggressor.
Right. Well, there's not enough people that don't understand that your actions have consequences, and that sometimes the chickens come home to roost.
Yeah.
All right.
You can't fuck with everybody.
No. Some people you might pick the wrong fucking one.
Yeah. You might catch a guy in Home Depot who's been spending a week trying to fix his washing machine. You might catch that guy, and he's one string snap away from just clawing the face off of somebody.
That last piano wire is real taut.
Yeah, real fucking taut. It's about to snap. He's been having to hold in all this aggression because the only two people nearby are his wife and his daughter, so it can't go that way. It has to stay in here.
It has to be internalized. Just bottled up.
Just fucking holding it like this. And then some guy's like, hey, asshole, you cut line. You just...
Like a fucking... For those of you who've ever seen Dragon Ball Z, it's like a fucking spirit bomb.
And this is to go even further beyond. Ah! You're just like shouting at Home Depot. Ah! Everybody's like, oh, has he done it? Super Angry Dad 3. Well, I think that's about all we got time for today, everybody. So as always, thank you so much for listening. Thank you to all of our new listeners for joining us. We have a quite the backlog of episodes at this point, so there's plenty to go and listen to if this happens to be the first episode that you're listening to. They vary in quality and quantity as far as conversations and length and all. It's very different. It's a very free-form podcast we have here. So, yes, if you're new, hello and welcome. Make sure you follow us on Facebook. You can also follow us on Twitter, though zero jack shit's happening over there because we can't figure out how to log into it. So we'll get that figured out. Make sure you leave us a like and a rating and review on whatever your preferred podcast platform is. That way it can reach more people, and we can tell those people to go and subscribe and do all that good stuff.
Because we still are zucked on Facebook, and we can't run ads.
We might be eternally zucked.
Yep.
We are like in Zuckatory. This is where we are. Do you have anything you'd like to close with, Wes?
Nope. Just again, thank you so much for the continued support. We really do appreciate it. And all the things that you said, make sure that you're leaving a like or a rating or a review on your preferred podcast platform. It really does help with us getting exposed to more people. And like Gary said, for those of you that are new listeners, welcome. There's lots of episodes for you to listen to. So we really do appreciate you. Thank you so much. Just thank you for all the continued support.
Yeah, and make sure you follow us on Facebook. That's where we're the most active over there.
Right.
That's where we post our Super Crins Thursday picks. Like, so if you're ever listening, you're like, where do these topics come from?
Right.
What we'll usually do is on Thursdays, of course, we'll post a cringy video that we found, and then on the following episode we'll discuss it.
Right.
So make sure you follow us on Facebook. That way you can see what it is we're talking about. And so that's the podcast, everybody. Thank you and goodbye.
Bye, everyone.